Christine is asking, I know I'm controller with my family and I want to let go of that, but I don't know where to start because I want them to see me like the best. What can I do?
I think if you're controlling them, how is that making you out to be the best? You think your control demonstrates your love, and in reality, your control doesn't allow them to grow. You know, you can empower people by giving and pushing them towards greatness, but then you have to let go. You have to see this place where you're controlling through image or through fear, and that's not unconditional love. Empowerment comes from unconditional love. It doesn't come from control. You push and you let go. This is love.
How can I do not to affect me anymore, the thought and the feeling of not being good enough? I see it in many areas of my life. Do you think it will never go away?
You know, all humans have this aspect. This is how we create fear. We believe we're doing something wrong or we're not good enough. So we're always trying to prove ourselves. And when you see yourself trying to prove yourself, how great you are, how intelligent you are, whatever, you just need to take that inwards and just love that part because it's an immature part. And when you see it, just love it. Just embrace it. Don't try to change it. Just allow it to dissolve. And remember, it doesn't matter about the outside. You can have everything externally. You can demonstrate everything externally. You can succeed with everything externally. But if you're not loving yourself, you're just trying to demonstrate that you're good enough. And the only way to heal that is to go in. And it's so important because humans do not believe they're good enough. And it doesn't matter how fabulous they are, it's never enough until we change that internally. And the only solution is consciousness. You can't change it any other way. You can't change it any other way.
Larry's asking, can you talk about the doing and the creating from excellence and without fear? And thanks for these tools that changed my life.
You know, it's in each moment. The most important thing when you're creating is you're present. You're not sabotaging yourself by choosing something less than, or being passive, or focusing on the goal. You have to focus on this moment and be excellent in that moment and choosing for consciousness. If you're here now, you're excellent. If you're giving the best, if you're not racing and making shortcuts, you're being excellent. So in order not to race ahead, you have to be in this moment. And that's excellence. And most people are so focused on the goal that they miss the path. Everything's opening all the time. And they have to be in joy. You know, excellence is joyful. It's giving. It's present. It's creating. And it's opening to other possibilities. It's not so fixed and rigid. It's open. When it's open, unlimited things enter. So I think that's the best way. You know, don't be passive. Push through your fears. Move forward. And trust. Trust in yourself. Because if something is in front of you, It's yours. If you get offered something, it's because you're ready. And remember that. Often we don't think we're up to the job. But if it's in front of you, you are. It's time for the next step.
Fede is saying, in Above the Clouds, you talk about the void that is beyond the thoughts. And you say that we are going to start relating with everything around from that nothingness. What are you meaning with that?
When you're in the silence, when you're completely present, everything comes in. You are completely in the moment, and you are so sharp in your senses, your fears, your limitations. None of this exists anymore. And you're in unity with creation. And when you start to create from that space, it's unlimited. And when you start to live in that space, you start to experience the beauty in all its plenitude through all of your senses. But humans have so much noise in their heads, they can't perceive the subtle perfection. And it's within that subtleness, within that vibration, that you find completion. You know, everything is a miracle. Everything. But we can't see it because we're always going on the surface. We're never deep enough to perceive everything. And this is why we have to learn to be in the moment. And then that yearning for magic, for something extraordinary, blah, 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 it disappears. Because you start to see, oh, the magic's already here. I've just not been able to see it. The magic's here now. It's a phenomenon. Oh, now that I'm here. So stop chasing illusions and go in. Find that vibration. Find that silence. Find that beingness and take that into creation. And you'll see. You'll see.
Helen is asking what it means to take from other people.
You know, taking from other people is when you're demanding something from them. When you don't feel complete within yourself. And it often happens within relationships, no? I don't feel good enough, so do I try to keep you small. I'm insecure. I want you to prove to me you love me. And there are all these baby behaviours where we're taking all the time. Or when we give, we have a list of what we're given. Why? Because it's conditional. And we have to see that this is not love. This is contracts. When we become the love, when we're complete within ourselves, of course we discuss things. But we're not constantly claiming the other person to prove they love us, to give us what we need. Because we're living in abundance. Emotional abundance.
He's asking, I see that I have a different rhythm, a different way, and many times it's difficult to fit into things. Can you talk about to be able to be present with respect towards ourselves and without abandoning?
You just have to be true to yourself. You know, you have to let go of this need to be recognized, to fit, and just to fit with you. You know, you cannot please everyone. It will never happen. That's why you have to be true to your own heart and give that. You know, you can't be waiting that other people approve of you. That's total abandonment. I don't fit. I'm not comfortable. You have to be comfortable with you. It doesn't matter what other people think. Everyone else is judging themselves so much. It doesn't matter. Loving yourself, being the best of you, giving that, there's nothing more important than that. There's no right and no wrong. It's just authenticity. That's the greatest gift you can give. But trying to fit, how do you fit? What if you've got a room of 100 people? The only way you can fit is to be you, not to try to be someone else. It's too superficial. And it leaves you empty.
Since some time ago, I'm with a big yes to life. But I had an encounter with a friend, and she applied the ice law, cold. But this time, I didn't abandon myself, as I usually do, but had been hard. What can you tell me?
What's the ice law?
Like the friend stopped relating to her or responding or not being a friend. She stopped being a friend.
Okay, so let it go. These things happen. And it's not important. The important thing is you loving you. You know, this is a manipulation. And if you start chasing after the manipulation, begging for love, nothing will ever change. Maybe you're too mature for this relationship. Maybe you've decided that you don't want to play these games anymore. And that's great. That's you being responsible. And you have to see throughout life how we learn these manipulations from our parents, in our families, with our siblings, within our society. And it always comes from the victim. And as we start to create consciousness, we see that we're not interested in that anymore. And once we stop, they have to stop. If they want to keep relating with you, they have to stop. So perfect. Yeah, don't abandon yourself. Just be loving with you. That's it. Great.
How is that you do the witness? With the witness, I don't know what to do. How I am observing my mind. And why is this like another thought?
You know, the witness is taking you into consciousness. It's not another thought. The facets are taking you in. And the thoughts will be there. But you want to be in the silence. You want to be in the consciousness. And you can witness the thoughts without becoming the thoughts. And they start to become more distant. And then your present moment awareness starts to open to receive everything else. When we're stressed, I don't know if you've noticed, but it doesn't matter where you are in the world, how beautiful it is, if it is an absolute paradise, usually the only noise you can hear is your thoughts. And everything else you're seeing on a superficial level. And we're not even conscious of that. You know, I remember when we first moved to Colombia. Now, we lived on a cliff. Okay, and there was the Caribbean Ocean. Behind us was this huge mountain with a snow peak. Okay, the Sierra Nevada. Coming down from the Sierra Nevada was a beautiful river that joined the ocean. And everywhere else, there was a beautiful beach, a jungle. It was an absolute paradise. There was no humans, no buildings, just us. Boom. And I said, if people can't be happy here, they have to see that they're the problem. Were people happy there? No. They were still moving stress and in a drama, loved this, didn't love that, blah, 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 blah. I'm talking about the students that came, no? Why? Because they weren't there. They were here. And I'd say, you're not here in this moment. And people don't realise that. You know, you think of that movie with Tom Hanks, when he got stuck on that desert island. And remember, in the end, he starts having a relationship with a basketball. And then he started getting offended with it, and then feeling abandoned by it. And this is a classic example. He created everything in his head. It wasn't real, because we live here. We don't live here. This is not the witness. This is the witness. Now, what does the witness do? It witnesses the basketball. It witnesses it. And it knows it so intimately, it knows all its tricks. It knows how it takes me into a place of suffering. It knows all its programs. And it just laughs at it like it's a movie, because it's here. When I live in my heart, I know self intimately. And then I witness my programs. I am not my programs. I'm not my programs. They're just something that's moving. I am not that. And you stop identifying. This is the best way I can explain it. But you'll know when you come here, when you start to live there. You'll see. Oh, there it is again. You're not going to catch me this time.
Monica is asking, how can I really trust that everything that is coming to me is what I need to survive? Because I always think I'm trusting, but then when it comes towards me, it's not what I need.
You don't know what you need. And this is why, when we live in knowledge, we don't open to a new understanding. When we have a fixed idea, we're not open to the unlimited. This is what creative people do. They open to the unlimited. But so many of us live within our walls, within our boxes, and we think we know what's best for us. But when we let go, everything starts to change. Everything goes beyond our imaginings. But we have to trust. We have to take a step of faith and start to say yes. How do you know it's not for you? Because you have a no. Because you know what you want, but you don't. You have to let go and allow the magic to happen. The minute you do that, everything starts to change. Oh, but I'm too afraid. That's the problem. You have to keep walking towards the fear, walking towards the fear. You know, it's like in relationships. We have this fixed idea of how the person needs to look, how they should be. And we keep recreating the same thing. And we've got all these no's when probably the most perfect was the first one. But we can't open to receive that. And it's the same in life. We're not open to receive our greatness. We've got too many ideas of how it should look. So don't unwrap the present. Just look at the box and imagine that everything you desire is within it. Just imagine that and keep walking forward. Stop imagining that it's wrong and start to trust.
Is asking how much I have to practice so I can connect with my heart and recognize it so I can follow it.
You know, your heart is just your intuition. It's the first thing that comes. It's the first thing that comes, and it's clear. And you can do that. But you go from here to here. And the minute you come here, it's confused. To be connected with your heart is the first thing. And you have to trust in that. The minute you get into duality, you know it's your head. If it comes from your heart, it's full of joy. It's clear. It's sharp. If it comes from your head, it's in duality. It's not clear.
I experience already depth and a lot of peace. And even that, sometimes I choose the adrenaline of the doing and resolving. And I even have resistance then to unify. If it's so pleasant to be inwards, why I choose to get lost in the outside still?
You know, it's not about getting lost. You know, you live a life, but you have to keep coming back to yourself. You know, you get all excited, the new project, your hormones, chasing after people, and you have to find a balance. It's not that you all have to sit in lotus position on your couch for eternity. It's not that. It's about being consciousness in action. So you're always watching yourself. And then you never get lost. It doesn't mean you don't enjoy your life. Doesn't mean you don't move into action or create or have relationships. This is something that we add. But we have to have a base. You know, you can't build a house without a foundation. It doesn't matter how great it is, how high it goes, how exotic, how expensive. It has to have a foundation or else it will collapse. And you are that house. You have to have a strong foundation. And what is that? Love consciousness. So be there all the time and have as much fun as you want. But the thing is, you'll see that everything becomes fun. Everything's joyful. Even the most mundane things. You won't have to be chasing it. Everything will give you that if you're anchored in love.
My mother died almost 2 years ago, and I still have anxiety about that and about what will happen in the future. And now with the quarantine, this grieving process is even more difficult, and also the fear of the future.
Well, the thing is, you're going into it completely now. Whereas before you had distractions. Now you're at home and you have to use this time to go deep and to let go. You know, we have to learn to detach. And I know it's not easy, but as we start to lose people in our lives, we start to learn that we are evolving. I lost everyone all at once, and it was very painful, and I was very lost. But then it gave me the capacity not to attach, not from a place of fear, but from a place of love. With everything, I learned the capacity to let go. And that gives you an incredible freedom. But you're looking for your security externally. And you have to find it internally. You know, when our parents start to leave, it's a time to mature and find them inside. This is responsibility. Not just attaching to something else. We have to attach to ourselves, our true selves.
I don't understand the difference in between the facets and the witnessing. I only have the two first ones. But can you explain to me what's the difference of doing the facets and being witnessing?
Okay. All you have to do is the facets. And this is me confusing the baby students, no? And I don't want to confuse the baby students. But I'm doing it anyway. Okay, I'm going to explain. The first 4 facets are the most important facets. Now, I do them, and I start to experience love consciousness, this place of peace and joy and this rich space. And at some point, instead of sitting here, I start to sit here. Now, the facets of the witnessing are the same as the facets of the first portal. It doesn't make any difference. It's not that they're doing something different. Everything's taking you to the same point. The only difference is I use them energetically to open. But you have to use the first 4. And then all the answers will come to you. And I'm sure this is totally clear now. I hope so.
I would like to know what you think about the relationship between karma and the creation of our own reality.
You know, I don't believe in a past life karma. I don't believe I came with this bag and I had to resolve it in this life. I am absolutely clear. The only thing that exists is this moment. Now, before I got enlightened, I believed in all of that. Past lives, past karmas, people that came to me were lovers from the past, reconnecting with my soulmate. I believed all of it. I had memories of it. And then when I woke up, everything disappeared because it was all part of the illusion. The only thing that exists is that which I am. And karma, you can call it karma. I call it cause and effect. And that's to see self. to change, to grow, to have compassion, to let go of judgments. It's in each moment. And that's what we have to embrace. I get to see self. If I have a judgment, I express it, I let it go, and it disappears externally because it's internal. Now, this is my experience, and it's a very unique experience because I know other people with it. Well, not many. So you have to believe what you believe. But be open to the possibility that it's not real. That's all. It's like your belief systems. Question them. But as you go deeper into consciousness, all the answers will come. And that's what's important. Your answers. Because you can read 100 books from Buddhism and Hinduism that's going to negate what I just said. So it's in your hands what you believe. I'm just sharing my experience.
I want to have children, but my partner doesn't know if he wants or not. And it hurts so much, the thought of not having children or the thought of separating from him. What do I do?
I don't know. I'm not a relationship fixer. You know, you have to be true to your own heart. But everything sounds fearful, no? I'm afraid of not having children. I'm afraid of losing my partner. You have to be clear with what you want. And then you have to create what you need. But don't do it from a place of fear. You know, and stop worrying about the future. It will be what it will be. You know, maybe it's not the time. Maybe you need to let go. I don't know. Maybe you should leave him and find someone who wants to have children because you're running out of time. I don't know. It's a very ambiguous question. But it has to come from love. It has to come from love. It has to be your choice because it's your responsibility. So I cannot answer that question. You have to get very clear about what you want.
Why don't we come to this world already with a state of consciousness as yours? And why do we have to experience feelings of low vibration? Why don't we arrive enlightened to this world and that's it?
You're already that which you seek. This is just an experience. And when you wake up, you'll realize. And the person that you were will be like some fictitious character in a novel. And you'll see that the suffering wasn't real. But wasn't it great? Isn't it great? The broken heart, the poetry, the density, the fear, the suffering, the achieving, all of these things. Isn't this the most incredible experience? All the belief systems, all the protests, all the prejudices, all the duality. Isn't it great? Because when you finally stop suffering, that's when it begins. But you have to have something to compare it to. You can't understand light without dark. There has to be the duality. Open to it. But stop judging this experience. Because this too is your creation. But what you want, you already are. So enjoy the game. I'm going to tell you a story. This is meant to be a true story. I know some of you have heard it, but I'm going to tell you again anyway. So it's a Chilean story, no? So once upon a time, there was a young guy, and he was a bit of a malandro, no? Yeah. And he was always having parties, and he lived in an apartment. You know, he smoked dope, and he was, you know, and he had a big black Doberman that lived in the apartment with him. So everything was a mess. And next to him, he lived in a very nice neighbourhood, by the way. So next to him, there was this lovely little family. You know, the big house, the backyard, 2 children, 2 cars. You know, the upper middle class family. And they were always complaining about this guy because he'd have the music going really late at night and they'd be knocking on the door because he was keeping everyone awake. So there was a little bit of friction, no? Now, these people had a beautiful white fluffy rabbit. And the children used to play with it. And they absolutely adored it. And he used to see it out the window. And he'd think, oh, cute little rabbit, you know. Yeah, cute rabbit, whatever. You know, and every day he'd take the dog for a walk. And sometimes the dog would escape. And then he'd have to go looking for it because one of his drunk friends didn't close the gate. Just the normal things that happen in every teenager's life, no? Anyway, one day he woke up with a really bad hangover and he went out the back to feed the dog, and on the doorstep was the rabbit. The rabbit was dead. It had blood. It was covered in dirt. And he thought, oh my God. The people next door had gone on holidays. He thought, what am I going to do? What can I do? If they find out my dog killed the rabbit, I am dead. He thought, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And he's thinking, which was a new experience for him. And he thought, I know. I'm going to wash the rabbit, get the hairdryer, make it look perfect, and put it back in the cage. They'll never know what happened. They'll think it had a heart attack. So he did that, you know. He got out the shampoo, washed the rabbit, got the hairdryer, fluffed it up. Looked perfect, no? Good job. So he went next door, put it back in the cage, and thought the people will be back on Monday. And everything's okay. Anyway, about 3 days later, he's walking his dog, and the woman's at the front hosing the lawn. And he said, hello, hello. He didn't want to stop to talk, no? He said, how are you? And she looked at him. She said, you don't know what happened? And he was like, no, I don't know anything. And she said, well, something horrible happened, but really horrible. He said, you know that beautiful white rabbit? He said, yeah, beautiful rabbit. It died. Oh, he said, that's terrible. Oh, he said, the children must be so upset. He said they're just devastated. But devastated. But the worst thing is, the rabbit didn't just die. We buried the rabbit. And then someone dug it up, washed it, dried it, and put it back in the cage. They're looking at me blank. Do you get it? It was already dead. The dog dug it up. So, what is the moral of the story? It's better to be honest. Because when you're dishonest, you cause much more pain.